Peace and greetings. This is Brother Beniti, aka Beniti. Some know me as Michael. Anyways, real quick in the beginning. I keep forgetting to do this in the beginning of videos. Quick announcements. Obviously, if you're watching this video today, we'll be on later this evening. Continuing our discussion on the Sith and the dark side, etc. I thought this would be a little prelude into it. Look at this motherfucker. So what I kind of wanted to we'll focus on again real quick this Thursday on Primordial Chaos Radio. Don't forget that we're gonna have my co-host, Sister Raven Hecker. I gotta stop saying sister, she hates that. That will be discussing appropriate for the day, which we know Thursday is Valentine's Day. So we're going to talk about, from a female perspective, relationships, sex, love, being a female adept, kind of things, kind of free-for-all things in those areas or topics. That's going to be this Thursday night, 8 o'clock. Next Thursday, we're going to have Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum on the show, talking about dark light consciousness, going into different areas of his work. Not just that, but that'll be usually the focus because there's vast areas and topics in that book. And it's very hard to really get through that in a sitting or two. You could stay on one area of his book for hours. If you've read his book and his work, you understand that. The 28th, Val Cadman on Primordial Chaos Radio. The following week, we got 2 shows in the first week in March. We got the special show, the regular Thursday show on March 7th will be a priestess, Aset Amun Ra. I posted in the community section, check her page out. She's very thorough on the occult, left-hand path, working with demons, dark magic. To me, she's one of the females out there doing similar work that I would consider in some areas that I do, and I think it resonates well with what we do on the show. March 9th, we're going to have Richard K. Page, a special Saturday afternoon show due to the fact he lives in Europe, 5-hour time difference. That show, mark it down on your calendar so you don't forget. It's a Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. start time, all right? And then lined up also, at the end of the month, we'll get Father Sebastian back on the show to more focus on some questions we couldn't get with him first time around. I'll be having a discussion with him on Friday, a personal discussion with him this Friday afternoon. So I'm going to get the exact date and I'll post that. All right. So what I wanted to focus on, which kind of be a prelude to the path of inner destruction. When we deal with the different concepts of reconstruction, deconstruction, about this path being work, and I can't stress that enough. Sometimes I prefer to use, instead of doing a ritual, you hear me use the term a working, right? Because that's what it is. It's actually work, spiritual work. It's not just physical, but it does take energy. But you're using so many different levels of energy when you're working magic. It's a totally different aspect of work, because when you are enforcing your will on a situation, there's a lot of intricate things that are involved with that, as you should know if you do practice black magic. All right. So the deconstruction, reconstruction process, dealing with the shadow self, since this has been an area of interest lately, and we've been focusing on this here, which I don't think is focused on enough, because you have a lot of people that talk about it, addressing their bullshit or whatever it is you want to call it, their shortcomings, areas in their life where they need improvement. But the question is, if you're not really carrying out a plan for that improvement, then we're back in that mindset of just saying things, without doing them. This is the core work of this path. Don't get deceived by a lot of the external stuff. You can get distracted by it. It can be very alluring. You can get caught up in the external stuff, just like anything else, and lose sight and lose focus on what's the most important reason why you came on this path. And I would hope, as I've said many times in the past, one of the main reasons why you want to come on this path is to improve yourself in all areas of your life. That's the difference. Now, I know many other paths promote that. You know, all these other light, fluffy paths, religions, philosophies, and dogmas promote some level of salvation and prosperity, but it's all fluffy in the clouds type of bullshit that's not a reality. The difference with working on this path is you're dealing with the here and the now. I'm not interested in on what I'm promised later in life. That shit is irrelevant to me, because there's an old adage, okay? Yesterday is gone, tomorrow's not promised to come, and the present is a gift, right? And we deal with the present, we deal with the now. And that's the only thing that really matters. Nothing else really matters when you're dealing with the now. So we don't get caught up in them pie in the sky, illusionary rewards, great, you know, keep, hold on, keep consistent, you know, or be loyal and faithful. Consistent is not even really the right word. Be loyal and faithful, and in the end, it'll all work out. Well, that's, again, pie in the sky promises and bullshit. We don't deal with that on this path. When we deal with the present and the here and now, okay, we take immediate action to get on this path, to do the work that is required of us at the moment to improve our life. It's that simple. Because what good is it if you can dissect the problems? We don't want to get in that boat. And that's what a lot of these groups do. They're the masters at telling you what the problem is. What's the problem in the community? What's the problem amongst people and folks today and all that shit, but never offering any solutions. What we do is, when we work with the shadow self, and as I mentioned, I think I mentioned it yesterday, I can't remember, but when you're dealing with aspects of the shadow self, and some of those aspects of the shadow self deal with rage, deal with intense anger, an influx of emotions and aggression, and not all of that is bad. If you are able to channel that and utilize that energy correctly where it can become beneficial, it can actually become an ally to you, as opposed to something that can be, block your path. It blocks your path when you have no control over it. So I say that to say, as taught in many other paths where they say your anger, your rage, your emotions, all these things that are promoted as just pure negative things, and you just need to suppress it and bury it somewhere, don't give in to it. Suppressing it and burying it somewhere doesn't do shit, all right? Because that's a core part of who you are. That's a core part of your being. You, more than anybody else on the planet, knows your good points or your strengths about yourself and your weaknesses. So the question is, what plan of attack do you have that you're working on? All right? So all of that to be said, which leads to the point, as opposed to other systems, again, other dogmas that either teach you could pray it away, you can meditate it away, which we know on this path isn't going to work. All right, we know, and I've said this a million times before, okay? Step one on this path is doing that stock, that inventory, that check on yourself. If you don't do that and really do a real good critical analysis of yourself, be very analytical in your criticism of yourself. If you just skip that, bypass it, you just want to go into working all of these different deep aspects of black magic and the occult, I've mentioned this before, you're going to do more damage to yourself than you are good. Or something that, when I say good, something that's beneficial for yourself. I talked about that when I did the Kali Durga video. The reason why a few months, or whatever, last month, whatever that was, a few weeks back, when I did the Kali Durga video, which is an intense path of destruction in the sense, well, really destruction and then reconstruction, or if you want to look at it, tear down, process, rebuild, is a good path to utilize when you really got to do intense, personal, deep work on yourself. All right. I connected it in that video saying, because again, not all, but a lot of people always associate Kali. It's just always about sexual energy, and not that most people don't know Kali is a very strong destructive force and energy. I think that needs to be focused on first before you invoke her for certain high intense energies such as Vama Marga and things of that nature. Because if you're not ready for that shit, like I said before, raising that Kundalini energy via sex, via any of those occult paths is not always a pleasant thing. I will focus a little more on that when we talk to Dr. Bynum, and he's very thorough in explaining that. The Kundalini energy, as opposed to some people think it's such this great, it's always this intense, eternal bliss feeling of energy, and it's not. It can be very painful. It can be very hard to deal with and assimilate if you got core centers of trauma that you're dealing with that you're not addressing, issues. It tends to become more of a problem or a hindrance than something that can be beneficial. So no matter which way you approach it, the whole point, no matter which avenue you come from, you can't avoid the step of really doing and really analyzing yourself and doing a thorough analyzing of yourself and admitting to yourself, working with the real shadow self, things about yourself that you really need to address. I mean, are there certain traumas, in your life that have affected you? And again, I'm not talking, here's the most important thing. I am not talking about things you're aware of either, because the work, when you're on this path and do the work, like for an example, working with an aspect of Kali Durga, doing rituals in regards to that, I'm just using that as an example, that will bring to the surface things that are impacting you that you're not fully aware of. All right? That's what we want to focus on. Now, the things you are aware of, that's a natural process. You should just be able to address them, write them down, whatever it is you need to do, and that, boom, you already know. Those things should be the easy part of this work on the path for you. That's not what the challenge is. The challenge is bringing those things to the surface that you're not 100% aware of that's affecting you. All right? And that's the whole point of working with those destructive paths. Because when you're tapping into those energies and those frequencies via those rituals and work, it's going to automatically rise or bring to the surface shit you're not addressing. Then the challenge is that, one, are you going to be prideful and egotistical and be in denial because shit sometimes comes to the surface that you may not like, and you might say, I ain't got that, that's not me. Yeah, well, maybe you think it's not you, or think it's not impacting you or affecting you in some way, but if it's coming up, it is. It's just you're not focused in on it because you have other things diverting your attention and your focus, okay? So that's the purpose, and you can't bypass that step. I don't give a fuck what it is you do on this path, okay? You can... If you're not right in here, and you could be all fucked up on a whole bunch of different levels, how powerful do you think your magic is when you set out to do some ritualistic work? I don't care if it's something as basic as candle magic. It's not going to be that effective because the effectiveness is in your power and your intent. So how effective can you be if you're all jammed up in here? You're not going to be very effective. Now, don't mean, okay, so some people say, well, I never did any of that stuff and I get results. Well, I guarantee you get results here and there, but you don't get them consistently. You get bits and pieces, moments, as opposed to the individual that's consistent. And if you're in denial and say, I don't do it, and you're great and wonderful, then all right, keep lying to yourself. If you believe you're great and wonderful and you don't have any issues and any problems, let's see how that works out when it's all said and done. All right, and as I said before, it's a constant work in progress. Okay, you never get up on this path and say, I got everything done, I'm complete, I'm full, everything is perfect, I don't got anything else to do. If you think that, you're even more fucking delusional. So it's a constant work in progress. Now, all of these different paths assist in coming to the realization of this. Why I always mention the aspect of Luciferianism, for an example, because it gives you that divine mind or divine godlike perspective and outlook on things. It keeps you centered. It keeps you focused. It gives you a thorough understanding of how you should approach shit. It eliminates all of the myths, the fables, the belief systems, the dogmas, and the indoctrinations when you understand the concept and how to approach it from that perspective. It automatically look at it as a filter where it filters out all the bullshit. Because that's sometimes when people struggle when they do their work. Is because they struggle when they do their work because, one, they're not addressing these core issues of the shadow self. And their effectiveness is not on point because the power of the intent is lacking. All right? It's that simple. That's how magic works. As opposed to, don't believe any of that bullshit. I tell you, there's no such thing as one quick fix-all. You hear me say all the time, look, you're not going to light a candle and all your problems are going to disappear. That's just another form of religion. There are occult paths out there that, unfortunately do promise pie in the sky. I'm not really a firm believer in getting work done as far as in areas that maybe promote a similar concept. So I always tell people, be careful of people that are going to charge you large amounts of money to do some type of bonehead work that you could probably do for yourself and be more effective. But again, you have people out there that can sense sometimes your desperateness, your over-eagerness. And sometimes, as I mentioned before, your intent might be good, your motives might be good, but when you got a shark swimming around you, they don't give a fuck. If they see dollar signs, they don't really care about none of that shit. Their interest isn't, they don't have your best interest in mind. They just see somebody that doesn't know shit, that's desperate and eager, and how can I take advantage of this person? And how can I make some dough off them? And that's why you got a lot of this scamming shit that goes on the internet. You got a lot of these self-professed gurus and high priestesses and, I'm going to make you a naga pot and mail it to you. And all this crazy, stupid shit that goes on the internet. And like I said in previous videos, look, all right, if you've been scammed once, shit happens. But when you keep going back, if you allow this stuff to happen and you've been told, and I've told you, there's certain work that has to be done on a certain level that there's no way possibly it could be done via the internet, okay, such as making a naga pot, right? That's a whole nother story. So I say be careful of that shit. And again, really that's a sign you should look at yourself. Why are you still so desperate looking for your personal salvation and putting it in the hands of others? Now, as I mentioned many times before in the past, if you've worked with me, you know how I work. You do the work. We consult the spirits. We use divination. We do ritualistic work. But in the end, when it's all said and done, if you've worked with me before, I give you the instructions and the guidance and how you should carry out, with always the door open for you to adjust and interpret your own way and put your own flavor on it. But I just give you the implements you need, the tools, the information, and the guidance, and you set out and do the work. And again, today, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to shoot this quick video while I'm riding home, getting a call from a client, actually an email this morning from a client I did work with last night, and it's a good feeling when they get their own personal confirmation, okay? There's nothing like that. I can't put that into words. And I know they always say, thanks, Beniti, this and that. That's great, and that's cool, and I appreciate it. It's a nice gesture of respect. But thank yourself. I always tell clients that. Thank yourself. Because I know it's hard for us to get out of that mentality because we've been programmed for so long, putting our salvation. And when I say salvation, I'm not talking religious salvation. Our salvation, our sovereignty in the hands of others. And I'm talking about our spiritual sovereignty and salvation. And we got to stop doing that. Because we all have the capability to do this work. Sometimes we just need a kick in the ass. All right? Hold on 1 second. Somebody come out and grab something from me real quick. Oh, shit. You ain't seen the flip phone in a while, right? That's my little side phone. You seen that shit, right? You thought that shit was dead. Hey, how you doing? This is Mike. Can you tell Joaquin to come out? I got the text for him. All right, cool. Appreciate it. People, I'm making a pit stop on the way home. Just got to drop something off. But we all have the capability to do this. And as I've said many times before in many other videos, we've just forgotten. It's not that it's not there. It's just with all of these levels of indoctrination. And to me, I'm sorry, and I'm not being judgmental of everybody that's on this quote-unquote conscious Kemetic or conscious path. I got to keep it real. The whole conscious community thing, the Kemet thing, that's becoming very fucking religious. All right? And I'm saying that from a person that went through that years back for years. I started to see how that got religiousized, right? I started to see how now it's become a club and a religion, and it's like an in thing to do. It's like that's what everybody's doing. That's what the in crowd is doing. Let me join the fucking club, and it just gets me sick to my stomach because it's just, to me, another form of church. I'm sorry, I gotta keep it real. And again, if that's not your position on it and you consider yourself one of them people, then it doesn't apply to you. If you're offended by it, fuck you, that means it does apply to you. And the reason why you're offended by the shit is because it struck a nerve. So you can kiss my ass, I really don't care. Hold on 1 second. Let me deliver this real. Just gotta give this to this brother real quick. Hey, what's going on, man? All right.
Busy day after you left?
It's a busy time. All right, I appreciate it. So, let Christian know. I won't forget about it.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
All right,
Take care while I can. Yep. All right, people. Little pit stop back. So yeah, like I said, it gets me kind of sick to my stomach because let's keep it real. It's become very churchy, all right, and commercialized. I look at it like hip hop. Now, when hip hop first came on the scene, I always said hip hop was a gift given to us by the elders to speed up our intellect, our knowledge, and our wisdom. And when you look at the first stages of hip hop, when you go back to the 70s and the 80s, and I'm going to say probably when the late 80s going into the early 90s, when it started to change. Now, Grant, I love the boom bap era, don't get me wrong. I think after that, that's when it really started going to shit. That's just my opinion. Because it became commercialized. Now you look at it now. And again, I don't want to sound like an old man out of my generation. So if you're a young cat watching this video, don't get offended. Yes, I'm an old school head stuck in my generation. And yes, I know back then my parents were telling me the shit I was listening to was garbage, just like some of the adults are telling the kids today the shit they listening to is garbage. But man, it's definitely evolved and changed. It's become, you got R&B thugs now, right? You didn't have that back then. Back then you had R&B, and they were strictly R&B groups. You had hip hop groups. You don't have that no more. Now everybody wants to be a thug, etc. That could be a class in itself. But I'm saying this whole conscious thing has become commercialized, right? And that's why I did the video last week, message to the Hoteppers and all that shit. It was to let people know, are you on the path, or are you, studying because, why are you there? Ask yourself. I know people are going to say on the surface the same old, rehearsed response, because I want to learn. I want to be knowledgeable of my greatness. But my next question would simply follow, how much of that information are you applying on a daily basis? Other than just spitting historical information and data and regurgitating it, because that's really what it is. Where's the ritualistic work? Where's the stuff being done to bring a dramatic change? I don't see that, right? It's lacking. It's missing because we've become more focused on the club thing. It's a club. You gotta keep it real. It's another form of church. So we don't ever want to do that on this path, okay? Well, let me rephrase this. Not that we don't ever want to do it. You can do it on this path, because it'll come to the surface that you're being fake with yourself. You're a fraud. You're phony. And let's be real. I get this a lot from people email. Or people that I talk with or traveling about. Stop thinking that everybody that's on the left-hand path in the occult is legit. Because I'll get this statement a lot. How can this person be on the left-hand path or be part of the cult but still act like these regular motherfuckers? Real simple. Because this attracts fucking nutcases too. Just like church does, just like the Hotep community does, just like Islam does. The whole nine. You're going to have your nutheads, your whack jobs, and your people that got agendas everywhere. Stop letting your guard down thinking just because somebody's wearing a Baphomet chain or a pentagram, that don't mean they legit. Okay? Because then we would be doing the same bullshit with the Hoteppers. Just like anybody that wears an Ankh or an Egyptian symbol or an African symbol doesn't mean they're conscious and know what the fuck they're talking about or what they're doing or they got their shit together. So I want to make that clear. Stop acting as if everybody on this path is legit, because they're not. There's many fucking con people, fraud people in this, just as there is in anything else. So don't deceive yourself and think, oh, because I'm on this path and anybody else I run into on this path got to be legit. You got a lot of people that use this and they have their own angle. They hide behind the look. You got brothers in this that use this for dictionation, as I like to call, indoctrination, just like they do in every other path. You know, the black woman is God. That's all to get into the female's pants. That's all to get pussy, rather than just come out and say, I want some pussy. And if you get rejected, okay, you move on. It's no big deal. We're mature fucking adults. Stop using the conscious pimping. You know, hey, goddess. That shit kills me. It makes me want to fucking puke. Literally, puke comes right here when I hear brothers talking like that. Hey, my goddess, my queen. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. If you feeling the female, just talk to her and kick it to her straight up. And if she ain't feeling you, she'll tell you. If she is, she is. Boom, problem solved. Don't be using doctrine and information to try to get some ass. Just say you want some motherfucking ass. That's it. It's that simple. I know that's what I would do. I wouldn't even hesitate. But you got people that'll hide behind this just like they do that, scouting and on the prowl looking for victims. Let me present myself, you know, as somebody that's knowledgeable and has your best interest in mind just because I want to get some pussy. Right? Let's keep it real. That happens on this path. Then you got other motherfuckers, right, that are on this path, and I'm going to keep it 100% real, you know, with their other side agendas, you know, and they look for weaker people they can dominate. Okay? That happens on this path. You'll get these older brothers, I keep it real with you, and they'll look for some of these young girls that they can dominate. They won't fuck with nobody their own age because they know that shit won't turn out beneficial for them because they can't dominate the relationship. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that on Thursday night, so I ain't going to get into that too much tonight. But that exists. You got these weak-ass brothers that look for these young little girls that they can manipulate and control their minds, and they try to impress them because they think they know something. But they can't fucking hang with women their own age. And it don't even necessarily got to be a woman on this path. It could just be a mature woman with fucking common sense. But see, weak-ass men, or think they men, they're not compatible with that. But again, we'll save that for Thursday night. I don't want to get too much into that. That would be an issue that one would have to address of the shadow self. That's an issue. You know, that's something that really can cause you serious problems down the road. But again, we'll get into that another time. But the whole point is, okay, and I think it's pretty crystal clear, you must do that internal work on yourself, right? Now, later tonight, in a couple hours, so I'm about to cut this, just a quick one I want to shoot. We're gonna address the path of inner destruction on the Sith path, what that involves. And again, that philosophy or that approach is just as intense as Kali Durgan. It's not for everybody. It'll if you're a bitch, it'll bring the bitch out in you. I gotta keep it real, you know. And that's why I said the work we getting ready to do on the 22nd, we're gonna see how dark side motherfuckers are. Right? I ain't just saying that to talk shit. You know me. I don't talk about anything I ain't gonna do. I've always been like that. If I ain't gonna do it, I ain't gonna talk about it. That's just me. I keep it 100% on that level. If I'm talking about it, you best believe I'm doing it. And I'm only going to talk about what you need to know. You don't need to know every goddamn thing. Because some of the shit you got to figure out on your own. I keep telling people, stop thinking you can get answers to everything from somebody else. You've got to figure out some of the answers to this shit on your own. Okay? That's where people struggle too. But anyway, I think that's sufficient for the moment. Just wanted to run through that. Now again, you might see this video days after it's done. So when I say tonight, it's the day of this video. So I know I'll see some of you on later this evening. And we're going to go ahead and get it in.